Ah, shoot. I was supposed to make a theme song for the podcast. Let's see what we can put together. Nailed it. So, when the babies came up to me and asked, "Where's mommy?" I told them, "Sorry, kids, looks like the Dre gone." Yeah? The Dre gone? Like Dragon? Where you kill her and then the babies carry the... Anyway. Welcome everybody to Tradin Faves.
Okay.
It's a train wreck already.
Good. I know exactly what you're signing up for then.
That's not unlike my other YouTube content, so it's fun. So welcome everybody to the first episode of Tradin Faves. This one's going to be a little bit more formal because it's the first. But basically what we do here is me and my brother over here, we play the video games and we show to each other and we're like, "Hey, this game's good." And then the other person gets to take a look at it. And then all book club style, we're going to make these podcast episodes about each of the games we play.
We needed an excuse to get through this absurd list of like, "Hey dude, you should play this game."
Pretty much like the backlogs of just like, when are you gonna get to this game?
Eventually.
As soon as I stop having to work and eat food, maybe.
I'm the worst at those though because I start the game and then I never finish it.
Yeah, we're all guilty of that. But no more. Together, our fantastic duo will be able to do this.
Yeah, I'm so excited we're doing this.
Mm-hmm. It's good to have some content on YouTube that's not just me talking to the air.
You get to talk to the air and I get to listen and then I talk back.
No, and then you talk to the air and then I go like, "Oh, sandwiches." And then when it's my turn, I talk again. Have they clicked away? Have you all unsubscribed
I don't know.
yet?
We're running the clock till they click away, and then
Right.
then we can actually get to the content.
And then the podcast goes. Pretty much. Today
man.
for our first game, we're gonna talk about Super Metroid, which is a game I've played many a time and have lots of fond memories of and appreciate greatly. And this kid saw it for the first time.
I went into this mostly blind.
Mm-hmm. So the interesting thing about this, when it comes to the Metroid series, both of us are pretty much babies. Like, I have a lot more experience, and alright, if now unsubscribe. Anyway, so yes, so we're both baby Metroids. Great analogy. Love you, other M. Kisses. I have...
See, now they can unsubscribe.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I was too slow on the joke.
We can't just say that at the end of every line. Like, they will unsubscribe when they choose.
Okay, that's fair. It is your choice.
Viewer discretion advised. Corny jokes up ahead. So I have a tiny bit more Metroid experience between the two of us. I've played a couple of games myself. But
yeah, should I go first or?
Yeah, the first thing we're going to talk about is like our history. You go first and then we'll get to like how it deviates. We also should probably say who we are so that way like people can pick apart which voice belongs to which person.
Yeah.
I'm
Smart.
real great at doing podcasts.
We were just too excited to do this. We didn't. I have a list of notes in front of me, and I have intro. Joseph has it covered.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. and I've been covering it. So I'm Joseph, owner of this fine YouTube channel known as Purple Cheese Man.
My name is David. I'm usually on most social media as Naxel710. I don't know. I kind of just fluctuate from place to place, but I just figured, I don't need to keep my identity anonymous. I'm David. Most of the people who are probably going to listen to this already know me IRL.
Yeah, it's the same. We're not planning on letting this get big and make us
watch this become
successful.
The biggest thing that you produce.
Well, okay, if we play Metroid Dread right when it comes out and we do a podcast on it, like, yeah, we're gonna generate some interest from that.
Yeah. Okay, but going into this,
I just want to say real quick about you. So the one place where you've got a different screen name on the internet is YouTube.
Linkachu710X. I might change that in the future. I don't know.
I was gonna say about that is like your username is like a relic of a forgotten era.
Oh, dude, absolutely. I've been meaning to change it because it was one that that was back when we first made that YouTube channel, and it was we shared it.
Yeah, and I don't know, that's just the crazy thing about it is in this day and age when everyone has rebranded and tried to make their content and their name on the internet, you just got this username that's just it's a combination of two not really affiliated game franchises. It's got the numbers, it's got the X at the end. It's a time capsule.
It very much is, and I am so ashamed of it. And that's why I keep saying, I should really fix that, and then I never do, because I'm lazy.
And I mean, I totally get you. I've had my old usernames, Nintendo Nut 10.
We're getting off topic.
But it's fun!
It really is. This is our podcast. We do what we want.
Was that supposed to be you slamming something?
No, I had a pen in my hand and I just threw it onto the desk.
Okay, I like the sound it made. So this will be the final part of our intro, but here's the deal. My brother and I, we can just go on these rants for hours.
We've done it many a time.
Literally hours. This is the first time that we're recording it and putting it on the internet.
That was part of what spawned the idea of this podcast, was that we were it became a running joke about, time to start talking about Sonic and all of the lore surrounding that and what we like and hate about. And we'd have this same conversation over and over again.
You want to talk about every game in the series again? Yeah, why not? Let's do it.
Yeah, I've got 4 hours to kill.
But
it's funny because every time a new game comes out, the conversation gets longer.
We will have a Sonic episode someday.
Someday.
I don't know when, but somehow we'll be on the internet talking about Sonic. That's the thing, though. If you're listening to this, you're in it for the long haul, because we're just going to go on for a while. This episode's going to be centered on Super Metroid specifically, but, we're just going to go.
Yep.
So, get cozy. If you're listening to this while driving, then keep your eyes on the road. If you're listening to this, anywhere in your own home, get some snacks, kick back, have a good time. We're going to talk about some Metroid.
Oh yeah, that smooth Super Metroid. Okay, so
DJ NX coming at you live with that Super Metroid.
DJ Captain N.
Captain N. That should be what you rebrand your channel to.
Oh god,
DJ Captain N. I should rebrand my channel to that to go along with the podcast.
That's so good.
Anyway.
Oh man, I'll make a dummy account that's DJ Captain N.
All right. So first, let's talk about our history with Super Metroid. I'll let you talk about it first because we both kind of start at the same point and then deviate just a little bit. That's
the fascinating part about a lot of our gaming history is because we grew up together playing a lot of the same games, and then I moved out, and then the timeline splits. So my introduction to Metroid wasn't even a Metroid game. As a little-known N64 game, maybe you've heard of it, Super Smash Brothers.
What is that?
Yeah, Samus was a character in that. No, I didn't know half the roster. Like, I didn't know Samus. Somebody told me Ness was a character, and I thought they were lying to me. Captain Falcon, I'd never heard of.
When I heard the name Ness, what I was thinking of was, you know how in the fighting polygons, the Kirby one is like shaped like an accordion?
Yeah.
I thought that was Ness, and he was going to be like a copy of Kirby.
Oh my gosh.
When you've never heard of these games, you have no clue what to expect.
And so, unlike many people, I did not get the big dramatic reveal of Samus being a woman.
Tell them how it happened.
Typical. Yeah, it was just playing the game at a friend's house, and there's that thing where like they get electrocuted, and you see their skeleton. And for Samus, instead of a skeleton, there's this weird green woman.
This green alien-like woman underneath.
Yeah, and I was like, what the? Okay. First off, a girl? Second, what? And like, that was the reveal. And then I was like, whatever, I'm gonna just go play Link again. Because I know Zelda. And like that was it for me. Like,
I think to that point, like, I somehow knew about The Legend of Zelda, but I didn't even know. Like, I hadn't even played a Zelda game before I played Smash Bros.
I think I'd seen a Zelda game.
All I had played was Mario and Pokemon, I think. Mm-hmm. And now I played Kirby after Smash Bros. Too.
Kirby was after Smash. Was Star Fox?
Yeah, Star Fox 2.
Yeah. That was... Oh my gosh. Smash Bros. Introduced us to so many wonderful franchises, and it continues to do so.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
But yeah, so outside of Smash, I didn't know squat about Metroid. Samus was a gun-armed space woman with a question mark, and then
she was green. Under the suit.
She was green, and then you know, like, I think Melee came out, and like I saw like a trophy. I'm like, oh, okay, that's Sam. Okay.
No, actually, because the unmasked Samus was
oh, you're right.
Was like one of those Japan exclusive ones that
you're right.
We didn't see that until like years later as well. So
I don't know. Like,
wrong again, buddy.
At some point, I knew Samus was a thing.
At least by Smash Bros. Brawl, we knew.
Yeah. Oh, of course. But like, my next, like my first actual introduction to the franchise was Metroid Prime 1. I had a friend who was a big Metroid stan. But like, you know, so like I'd seen him playing the games, but like it was always I'd go over to his house and then he would like be somewhere else in the game. And so I was just like, okay, like now we're here and now you can do this thing. Cool, whatever. You know, I didn't follow any of it, but I was always vaguely curious about the franchise. Because, like, Metroid has a really cool aesthetic.
Heck yeah, it does.
Like, and that was always the number one thing for me, was like, man, this looks cool. I would love to get into this. And I think at some point, like, a couple years later, a friend loaned me their copy of Metroid Prime 1, and then it became part of the infamous thing that I like to call, I suck at first-person shooters. I am so bad at them. It is an absolute miracle that I played through all of Splatoon 1, 2, and the Octo expansion. Like, it is nothing short of a miracle that I actually managed
those.
To do
those are just... Those are third-person shooters.
Person.
But it's just kind of that mentality. Like, neither of us really grew up playing shooters in general. Like, yeah. we just managed to skip all the classics. Like, we never got the, like, GoldenEye on the N64.
GoldenEye.
We never got the Metroid Primes. Like, we just kind of missed, like, the Nintendo shooters, and there weren't a lot of Nintendo shooters anyway.
No, but, like, and then, like, a lot of my friends went on to, like, they jumped on the Halo train, but because like I could not, my brain could not process that control scheme of like it being my face and looking around and pointing and shooting. Like, just I couldn't do it. And so I think I made it as far as like, oh, what's that boss? It's the plant one where you morph ball and you blow up the things.
Oh yeah.
I think that's as far as I got because I was just not having a good time because the controls were just like messing me up.
And that's like, I forget how early on in Metroid Prime 1 that is, because I haven't played in a while. But that's early. That's like the second boss or something.
Yeah. Like, I think you see Ridley, there's like the one that's behind the barrier, and then you fight that thing. And like, I struggled with that. And I got made fun of because it's like, I was told by a friend, it's like, my cousin beat that game when he was 5. And I'm like, good for him!
Yeah, and by the way, for any hardcore Metroid fans who may be listening to this and screaming that like we have this as our backstory, just know like this is just like we didn't grow up with this stuff, but like I'm gonna show this guy Prime 1 and I'm gonna show him how good it is.
Oh yeah,
but,
yeah,
like,
that's on the list of one of these episodes will be the Metroid Prime 1. And that was the thing too, is I liked the game. I loved the aesthetic. I loved like all the little details. And especially now that I'm older, like I really liked the game and I always wanted to get into it. I just couldn't get my brain to work with that control scheme.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just it's always been something that has bothered me, is that I just can't get into shooters.
Right. And I find that ties in not just to like shooters, but like any first person game in general is difficult, because for me, like, since then I've expanded, I've tried a lot of other first person games and stuff, and it's just something about like first person games, because I don't have that experience, I'm not used to them, I end up with, you know, the usual complaints like the motion sickness and like the getting disoriented or getting confused about where things are because you don't have control over the camera. And so that's just kind of like one of those areas of like, you got to get used to it. It's like, it's basically you're learning a new skill when you try a game in a different genre.
I'll specify, for me, it's like the depth perception thing. Like, because I can't see my character, like my spatial awareness is just really difficult. I have a hard time doing it.
Yeah, but Blast Ball on the 3DS fixed that, Federation Force and all that.
Oh,
so if you played that one, you have no excuse.
I didn't play that one.
And now everyone's clicked away. Anyway.
Yeah, no, it's okay, because what I'm about to say next definitely will.
Yeah. Right.
Because after that, I kind of didn't, again, had it falling away, didn't really keep tabs on the Metroid franchise, until a little known game came out called Metroid Other M. And this is the thing that I'm going to say that's going to get people to click away.
You said the name. No, he said the thing that must not be said. He liked it. No.
Yeah, no, like, again,
that's fine.
Always wanted to get into this series, and like Other M looked really cool. And I was like, oh, it's not first person. Like, I could probably get into this. I started playing it, and I was like, dude, this game is really fun. And, like, you know, say what you will about Other M, its opening is very gorgeous. It is, which ties into what we're talking about. It's the ending of Super Metroid, and it's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, you know, I liked Other M, and granted, I had nothing to compare it to, but then all of a sudden I was told that like this game is hot garbage. If you like it, you are the scum of the earth. Blah blah blah.
Yep.
Black sheep of the Metroid franchise, and I was like, what's wrong with it? Like, I thought it was fine. Like, and I will say, I didn't actually finish the game. I played through a good chunk of it, but we had the thing where, and this is another thing, which is one of the reasons I never finish games. I have two brothers. who I will play a game, and then they'll be like, all right, it's my turn. And then they will sit down, and because they watch me do it, they will do it faster than me and get farther. And I watch them do that. And then I watch them do that for a while, and then I go, okay, it's my turn again. I have to redo everything I just watched. I'm gonna just watch them play the rest of this game.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I watched the whole game, like the rest of the game. I didn't finish it, but like I very well could have. It was well within my skill set. And yeah, I didn't hate it, and I think this is where some of this podcast and us playing Super Metroid spawned, was because you were of the opinion that the game wasn't good.
Yep.
And I was of the opinion that I was like, dude, it's fine. Like, all of these arguments I've heard, I don't understand because I didn't know anything about the franchise. I will say, after Super Metroid, I still don't hate Other M. I still like it because it was my entry to the franchise.
Mm-hmm.
But I can definitely say, like, oh yeah, I know, I can see some of the flaws, but I still like it. Because the next thing I have to talk about is something I hate about the franchise.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, buckle up. So, I had Other M, and then, again, kind of didn't really keep tabs on Metroid, like, outside of that. And, I will say, there was a point, I think I had come home from my brief, like, year of college before I was like, this sucks, I don't want to do this anymore. And I was working, and I was tired all the time, but then you said, like, all right, dude, like, let's play Metroid Prime 1. And we started, like playing it, and again, I loved it, but I was so tired from work that, like, I just started falling asleep, like, as we were playing, and I was like, bro, I'm not retaining any of this.
And it was funny, that experience, because at the time I took that as like, oh no, he doesn't like Metroid Prime,
no,
and he likes Other M. I've created a monster. When that wasn't the case, it was just that you were tired. No,
it's because I'd been working all day and I was exhausted, and then I moved out, and so, like, we didn't see each other, and so we couldn't keep playing, and so it just kind of fell off. But it, like, you know, I want to say from that point on, I had this Metroid itch that I just, like, I needed to scratch it. I was like, this game franchise has been taunting me forever, and I needed to scratch it. And I had no means of doing it. I had none of the games. I had no means of playing them. Aside from, like, I think the original Metroid eventually got put on the Switch Online, but I was like, I don't want to play the original Metroid. It looks old, and everyone says that, like, you should play Zero Mission, and I was like, well, I don't have Zero Mission. And then Samus Returns came out, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll play that, and I was busy. I never got around to it. But like, that Metroid itch was there, and I had no way to scratch it. And then finally, I was like, I think you mentioned it to me that, like, one of the things about Other M was that, like, it drew inspiration from this manga that was only ever released in Japan.
So that one was on me. I was the one that introduced you to the manga.
Yeah. Well, because again, I had to scratch that Metroid itch.
Yep.
And I was like, it was just one day, I was like, I gotta look it up. I gotta find it translated somewhere online. And I did. And holy crap, it was bad. Oh my goodness. Okay, like, part of why I agreed to want to do this podcast was just so I could talk about how much I hated this manga.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, gather round. It's the part of the podcast where we diss the Metroid manga.
No, like, here's the thing for me. Like, everyone dunks on Other M, and I'm like, no, everyone should be dunking on this piece of crap manga. It was awful. It was so bad. Like, the worst part was, like, it started well enough that I was like, okay, this seems interesting. I can get into this. Because, like, you see young Samus, she's, like, 3, and she's adorable. But then everything from that point on, it snowballs. And I hated it because it didn't have that Metroid aesthetic. Like, Metroid, from what I understand, was heavily inspired by like Western media from at least back when it first started.
Right. Specifically, not just Western media, but like the one that everyone points to as the biggest influencer is the movie Alien.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the movie Alien.
So specifically like Western sci-fi kind of stuff from its own.
And so like, okay, the first thing that made me when I read this manga, and I was like, what? Is like, so Samus joins the Federation because it's her origin story, and I'm like, okay, that's part of the story. And like everyone dunks on Adam. Adam is nothing. Like, he's just there. No, the characters that deserve to be hated are her special ops crew of a gorilla man and a space elf. And I hate them both. They are the worst Metroid characters ever. Because they, like, you know, Samus for the longest time was the only Metroid character in Smash Bros. I think there's a reason for that. Because she's a very good character. These were not good characters. They took up so much screen time of their like goofy antics. Like, they were such goofballs of characters.
Wait. And I guess you could say they were too big. Huh?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like, dude, no, I can't even joke about how much I hate them. Because, like, legitimately, like, Ridley is there, and we're wasting time talking about this space elf. And he is the worst character. He is the character I hate the most. I'm gonna lose my voice yelling like this.
Yeah, be careful not to strain yourself.
No, but like, legitimately, like, because there's this whole bit of like, oh man, okay, it's like there's this whole bit about Samus, and like she spends all this time with this one like Chozo guy, and I was like, oh, he's like a father figure to her. And then suddenly there's this one Chozo guy named Grey Voice, and like he betrays the entire race to the space, like all of the Chozo to the space pirates, and like they make him out to be this huge douchebag, and Samus has like never talked to him, and then it's like, oh, he was a double agent, and also he was a father figure to Sam, and I was like, who is this guy? She never even talked to him. And, like, they focus on him a lot. And then, like, Samus has this whole mental breakdown because Ridley's there. And then we're just focused on this freaking elf. Who is, like, just the comic relief character. And I'm like, why do we need a comic relief character in a Metroid manga? And then we get to the time skip. And so, like, a couple years go back. Oh, mind you, Grey Voice, this Chozo guy, he goes and fights Ridley. He gets the epic showdown where he dies fighting Ridley, and Samus just runs away with everyone else. And I was just like, Samus, I'm like 5, 6, 7 chapters in, and you have done nothing except save a little girl from some space pirates. And we'll get to how much I hate that little girl in a minute.
Oh, no.
Because, like, my biggest complaint about this manga was that then there's a time skip, and like it's supposed to lead into like be the origins leading up to the first Metroid game. I think because it was made for Zero Mission.
That
and
makes sense.
And like, there's so much dialogue, and yet nothing happens.
Yeah.
Like, there is so much talking, and nothing happens. And then, like, then it becomes like this mad dash to cram as much of like the first Metroid into this moment. And even then, we keep flashing back to all these useless other characters. That little girl, man, we gotta devote like 5 pages to her be like joining the Galactic Federation. Man, we gotta talk about this stupid space elf and how they tried to make him this cool loner character after the time skip, and I hated him. The monkey grew a mustache, and that was his character development. Like everyone dunks on Adam. Adam isn't even relevant. Adam is nothing. This stupid space elf and this monkey ate so much time, and then we finally get to Zebes, whatever you want to pronounce it. We get there, and Kraid shows up, and he's there for all of like 3 pages. And then the Ridley fight happens, and it's all of 5 pages. Mind you, we keep flashing back to all these stupid characters.
I mean, you can beat the first Metroid in like an hour, so that tracks.
I mean, yeah, but like, it would have been more fun if it was Speedrunner Samus that like just it was like
doing the arm pumping thing.
Yes,
just missiles flying everywhere.
And then like, and then the worst part is like, it keeps cutting back to all these stupid characters that I just have no attachment to. And then it ends on this shot of like Mother Brain and all these Metroids, and Sam's like, let's end this. And that's where it ends. And I'm like, you don't deserve, we could have had that fight. And instead it's just implied because we had to talk about the gorilla and the space elf.
Gorilla with a mustache.
It was awful. And the worst part, the worst offense that manga had is I still had my Metroid itch. Like that was, it did not satisfy that itch. It made me pissed off and want to play a real Metroid game more than ever. And I was like, I need to scratch this itch. And then Metroid Dread got announced. And I was like, all right, I need to do something. And so that's when, I think, because we have our D&D game, and it kept getting postponed and pushed back just because like nobody's schedule would work. And so it's just like, hey, do you want to just play like a Metroid game this Friday?
Yep.
Like and so you're like, I'll stream it, I'll play, you just watch and you enjoy it. And I finally scratched that itch. Holy crap, that game was so good.
Yeah, there it is. Now, I just want to say this about that manga. Some of the complaints that David just said, for like the listeners, you may be thinking like, oh, that's kind of how I felt about Other M in a lot of ways. But there is one like major distinction between what he was saying about that manga and how a lot of people feel about Other M. That's that the manga was trying to force in a lot of comedy. Can you imagine how much more the masses would have hated Other M if they went for like a tone like that manga did with,
oh my god,
with Space Elf and Gorilla instead of, you know, like at least Anthony who is like a charming guy.
Adam was so much better than them. No, and then because here's the other thing too about Other M. You play as Samus and you do things. Samus is just there doing nothing. And just letting all these other stupid characters hog the spotlight.
Yep.
Like,
so you heard it here first, folks. This manga is so bad it'll make you run back to your abusive daddy.
We'll talk about Other M a different day.
Yeah. Other M, I think, for my sake, because I haven't played it, I've only seen it. We'll probably go back and do that one for me.
Yeah, one of these days. We'll
talk about that. So, anyways, that was his path.
That was my path to where we are now, playing Super Metroid, and we'll talk about Super Metroid more in depth. But let's hear about your Metroid journey, because it's got to be so much better than mine.
It is a little bit, as somebody who didn't have to read the manga.
Yes.
Yeah, so as we discussed at the beginning, there was Smash Bros. Always just kind of, grew up with a sense of like, oh, this is Samus, and these are Metroid-y things. And then during that phase when you had friends that were really into Prime and all that, I did not. And so I only ever knew Metroid Prime as the thing that you and your friends were over in the corner playing.
I was kind of vaguely watching, but yes.
Right. Right.
I'll admit, I was thinking about Sonic.
Well, of course. Aren't we all? But, like, so, like, I just kind of dodged the Prime series for a while. And then around the time of, like, Smash Bros. Brawl, I just started playing as Samus more, and I was just like, oh, I really like the character's playstyle. And I promise I'm not, like, one of those lame people that just, like, spams projectiles and just zones the whole game. Like, I play, I get the physical attacks involved. But
more
yeah,
fun that way.
it is. It's more fun for everyone. For me, for the opponent. It's just better when you don't camp. Please don't camp.
Don't.
Unless it's,
This has been a PSA.
Against those nasty space pirates. Camp against the space pirates.
Yes, camp against the space pirates.
And then people camp when they fight Ridley in Ultimate. Anyway. So anyways, I just started playing Samus in Smash Bros. And I was just like, Samus is such a cool character. Like, I need to just, like, find a way to start playing Metroid. And with that came the time when both of my brothers were playing Metroid Other M. And this is where things split, because I never once played the game. I only sat and watched. And it's kind of interesting, because you could maybe accuse me of having, like, my opinions of Other M being formed by, the screaming fans on the internet saying it's bad. But for me, when I was just watching it, I was kind of just, like, not impressed. Like, I was just like...
I was, but I'm easy to please.
Right. It wasn't a first-person shooter.
I play Sonic. Like, right. I'll own up to that.
Yeah. But, like in my case, just watching, I was like, where's, like, the background music? Like, this is all just atmospheric noise. Where's, like, I don't know, every now and then cool stuff would happen in-game, but it was kind of just, like, there was so many cutscenes of people just standing there talking about, like, uninteresting stuff, and I'm like... I don't know, with my preferences with games, I think story-heavy games can be really good when they're really well done. But for me, my preference will always be those kind of, like, punchy, fast, like... Whether they have cutscenes or not, just, like, they get to the point and then they throw you back into the gameplay. Once again, I think Sonic did that to me.
Yeah.
It's those darn Sonic Adventure games.
We need to make a Sonic episode one of these days.
We will. Trust me.
Also, I just want to interrupt you for a second to say that when I was having my rant, I apparently hit my keyboard and typed a bunch of gibberish into like...
Oh, man. Yeah. But yeah, just watching Other M, I was kind of just like, I'm not really getting why my brothers like this. And I was like, well, they seem to be having fun with the gameplay. Maybe that's good. And I was looking at it, I'm like, are you playing with the Wii remote on its side? Are you controlling a character in a 3D space with a D-pad?
I will say that is one thing that is really bad about the game that I would change.
And they have, like, the first-person view mode for, like, where you flip the Wii remote, and it's just like, you have the nunchuck attachment. Some games have to be played with the nunchuck, so you don't even have the accessibility excuse. Like, why can't you just play with a nunchuck and then push a button to switch to a first-person mode? But
nunchuck drift isn't a thing.
No. It is, actually. I had it happen to me while I was playing Galaxy 2, and it was scary.
I think it happened when we played One Piece Unlimited Adventure.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, that would... Anyway.
You'd have to
Nintendo.
unplug it.
We know what a drifting controller looks like. We saw it before the masses.
We saw the future and tried to warn them.
This podcast is brought to you by Fix Joy-Con Drift. Please, Nintendo, fix it.
Please.
I will find a way to sneak that into everything, even if we're not talking about a Nintendo game.
We'll talk about like a PlayStation game and then
just be like, and you know what it doesn't have? Joy-Con Drift. Yeah, so I saw Other M and I was kind of like not impressed, but I was still like, I liked playing as Samus in Smash Bros. And so much like David, I was like, I have the itch. Dude, and I need to do something about it.
Do something.
I gotta do something soon. But fortunately for me, and this is where you made the mistake, sir, I got a Club Nintendo account. And they were like, here's free Metroid games. And I was just like, oh, manna from heaven.
I got gypped.
Yep. And so the first Metroid game that I played was Metroid 2 for the Game Boy. And that one's still not great. It's an old game. But like,
it's an old game.
I don't know. But it had music, darn it. And
true.
That's where Other M failed me. It had no lengthy cutscenes and it had music. And so I was just like, yeah! I'm running around a gray world because there's no colors, and I'm shooting things, and it's great. But I also realized that the game was hard, and that I didn't have the attention span to beat it, and so I was like, okay, I need something else. I need something else Metroid that'll, like, really just be a good game. And once again, Club Nintendo came through, and they were like, here's Super Metroid for, like, 100 coins or something, and I'm like, that's child's play. I will absolutely buy that. And playing through it for the first little bit, I was, as any noob would be with Metroid, like, I was lost. I was struggling to get the controls down. I was like, oh, this game's hard, because they're not like the easy games we have in the modern generation.
You don't go right, you go left.
Yeah, you start by going left. Actually, no, you don't. You do start by going right.
Yeah.
But, anyways, but like just the more that I played it and the more I figured out about the game, I was just like, this is a good time. And it was like, it was still doing like cutscenes in a sense, but they're just like real quick, no dialogue. Interesting stuff was happening. I was fighting interesting enemies and I was just like, oh my goodness, I love this game. And so that's most of what we'll be hearing about my opinion on Super Metroid. We'll kind of leave like the Super Metroid-y talk about like your first time experience with it. But going from that, I was just like, okay, Metroid's cool. I gotta play more of these. And then Nintendo did it again. They were just like, Metroid Prime Trilogy exists. And I was like, thank you. And so,
like, 3 games for
it's
$20?
3 games for the price of a third of a game. And I'm just like, holy smokes, this is great. And I think that's specifically what it was. There was a sale on the Prime Trilogy.
Ooh.
And so I was just like, I gotta get this now. And so I just swiped the darn thing for $20. And speaking of which, like, I got it on the Wii U eShop, which is closing soon.
Yeah.
And they don't seem to be porting Metroid Prime to Switch, so if you got a Wii U,
we both went in and we raided the eShop. Like I remember we texted each other just like, yo, I'm buying games on the eShop because, like, we're not going to have any, once this goes down. Like, get it.
What you got? I'll get some other stuff so we have some variety.
Let's spread it around so that, like, we own all of these games.
Yeah, and then we were like, next paycheck, I'm coming back for more.
Yeah.
Speaking of, I think I just got paid today. Anyway, irrelevant. But yeah, so then we got the Metroid Prime. So far, I've beaten Metroid Primes 1 and 2, and my wrist pain is making it hard to play Prime 3. It's very cool, but it's just kind of hard to play with how motion control-y it is. But I'll get to it at some point. Like, it's too good of a game not to finish at some point.
We're gonna play the Prime games for this one of these days.
So that's the thing. If you really like Metroid, like, there's gonna be a lot of that. If you don't like Metroid, unsubscribe.
Skip a couple of episodes.
If you like every Metroid except Other M, your mileage may vary. We have a good cop, bad cop.
Get out.
If you like the manga, like, who are you? You don't exist.
You wrote the manga.
You wrote. Yeah.
Anyways. I'm sorry. I will dunk on that manga for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Because it was such a disappointment.
So from this point on, like, the rest of my stories is pretty much there. Like, I've been slowly getting through the Metroid games. Still need to play Fusion because that one looks so good.
That's on our list because we're like, we need to do this before Dread comes out. So
and
that way,
the thing that's exciting about Fusion is that it looks good for extremely different reasons than Super Metroid. Like, a lot about the game's pacing and setup is so different than Super Metroid. And I don't see that as a bad thing, because, like, Super Metroid can be good at what Super Metroid does, and Fusion can be good at what Fusion does, just like how Prime is good at what it does in its own way. And so it's just like, with all these Metroid games, like, they're all good, but they're all so different. And that's, like, what makes the series so cool.
I will say, I like when a franchise tries different things, and, like... Because you're always guaranteed an experience. It might not be a good one, but, like, you know, you walk away with a memory, and that's always what I try and do when I play a game. Is I want to walk away with something to remember.
Exactly. I guess the only other noteworthy thing about my Metroid history, I tried Samus Returns on the 3DS, and maybe this sounds kind of crazy, maybe this sounds like Metroid heresy. I didn't like it as much as the original Metroid 2. The big thing for me that really bothered me, I had a couple of small complaints about it, but the big thing that really bothered me was the melee combat thing. Because, like, it just turns, like, all of the game into, like, standing there and waiting for an enemy to charge at you so you can do the counter, so you can shoot them. And it's, like, the whole game just becomes that. It feels, like, way too monotonous. And so that is, like, the only reason that I'm kind of hesitant going into Metroid Dread, because the melee counter is back. But, like, from what I've heard about it, it's, like, gonna be toned down a lot, so it's not, like, every enemy encounter, and you can blast through the weaker ones pretty easily. And so, like, I'm not as upset about that. Plus, they give you, like, a little Mega Man slide. So that that more than makes up for for everything about that. But yeah, there was, like, I got to that point where I was, like, writing all of the great highs with the rest of the Metroid fandom, Ridley and Smash Bros. It was so cool because, like, Smash 4 came out and there was not playable Ridley, and then I started going through all these Metroid games. And then we got Smash Ultimate where Ridley was, and I was like, oh, I know who that is!
Oh, I'm happy about this!
I'm really glad that he's in. He's not too big.
You got Ridley and Dark Samus.
Yeah, and then there was Dark Samus, which is even crazier. And that was funny because I didn't play Prime 2 until after Ultimate.
Oh.
So Dark Samus came out, I was like, who dat?
And you're like, then, oh, I know who that is.
And then I played it, and I was like, yeah, now I know. But yeah, now we're like, okay, now we need to get this Sonic fanboy up to speed.
Yeah.
In time for Dread.
Yeah, so we might be a little behind on Dread because I have games I want to introduce you to as well.
Right, and we'll talk about it when we talk about it, but we've got a beefer of a game coming up next.
Yeah, we do. But that was one of the things too, is because so part of what also pushed this was that like we'd talked about doing this for a while, and like I remembered when we played Prime, and I was like, I want to go and do that. Like, I need to do that. And then Dread got announced. And then I had a coworker who's a big Metroid fan, and he was like, "Dude," like I was telling him this. He's like, "Do it. I will come over and make you play it." You know, and I was just like, "Okay," like, and so it perfectly aligned. Where I was like, "Dude, let's freaking pick up this game and let's actually play it because I want to experience Metroid."
Yep.
So
and it's been a fun time for the both of us. Me for going back through appreciated stuff, picking up, you know, the games that I didn't get to play, and just in general enjoying the goodness of Metroid.
Super Metroid. Gosh dang. Like, I guess we should probably actually start talking about Super Metroid.
Right, we're gonna do it finally. We're gonna talk about this.
But like I want to say the thing that stood out the most to me is how gorgeous of a game it is.
Mm-hmm.
It is a very like I don't know, maybe because I'm a Sonic kid and so I grew up with like, you know, the Genesis games and like how good those looked. I'm not super huge on 8-bit. It like there are exceptions to, but like I like 16 and 32-bit games. And so like it was really interesting to me because again, I don't normally think of like the Super Nintendo looking that good because I didn't have a Super Nintendo growing up. And a lot of like the Super Nintendo games that I've played them on more modern consoles, and so I associate them with those consoles. Like Super Mario World we played on the GBA, and so I just associate it with a Game Boy Advance game.
Yeah.
Or like Chrono Trigger, I played that on the DS, and so I associate it with the DS. Like what else was Super Nintendo?
Right. Stuff like Mega Man 7, which we got on
our that was another
collection.
One that I played. I played Mega Man 7 recently, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this game is gorgeous!"
Mm-hmm.
And so like I've been slowly like exposed to like, wow, Super Nintendo has some really pretty games.
Yeah,
but like
that was just kind of the thing for us. We started like with a console, our first console in the home being the N64.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was just like we were already like graphically ahead of the Super Nintendo and had just the hardest time even finding Super Nintendo games that we could play.
Oh yeah.
And so like so many good games just slipped through the cracks, but it's like when you go back and look at this stuff, you're like, oh dang, these are really good.
I know, like that was the thing that was like even just the start menu. And just like the Metroid there, and then you pointing out the dead scientists.
Yep.
Like, oh shoot! Like I didn't notice those, but like
there's some dead bodies there. It's not just a Metroid in a cage.
And like, you know, I would forget about it a little bit because then we'd start playing the game and we'd be running around like exploring. But then like we get to like a boss fight or a cutscene, and I'd see just like the way things were moved or like unique animations, and I would just be like, man, this game is pretty. I like this game. Like, and that was the thing that sucked me in. It's again, like my whole thing with Metroid is the aesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
It's that aesthetic, and I love it.
It really does just it gets you right away. Like,
I mean, even like that little opening monologue from Samus, like recapping the first two, which also I really appreciated that monologue because I didn't want to go into the original too much, and I'd known enough about Metroid 2 because I think we talked about it before we started playing.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, like I know like the gist of it, that we killed all the Metroids. This is the last Metroid, and we gave it to science people to do science stuff with. And I was like, cool, I know it. And so like I got that recap, and so I felt like, cool, I am up to speed. Let's jump right into this game. And that's precisely what it did when it gave us freaking Ridley right at the beginning. And I was like, dude, this is cool. Man.
There really is just something about the way that tutorial goes with, like, starting you running through quiet areas, seeing, like, just the broken, like, tube where the Metroid was, all the dead scientists, and then you're just like, boom, here's the dragon, like, here's the toughest guy in the game, just right here in the tutorial, like, and good luck.
He's got the Metroid.
He's got the baby.
Oh, man. But yeah, and then, like, that is how you open a game. That was such a great start to the game. And then it just drops you into the world. And it's like, all right, let's go find some stuff. Let's go look around and see what we can find. Let's go find the baby Metroid. I was like, all right, this is cool. And then, like, you know, we just had a good time roaming around, getting stuff. And then I think we fought what frick, I can't remember the plant's name. Hang on, I wrote it in my notes.
Oh, Spore Spawn. Everyone's favorite Metroid monster.
God, why isn't he in Smash Bros?
Because he's too big.
He's too big. Yeah, like, anyway. He was all right, and he was kind of like what I was expecting from a boss. Like, I was like, okay, yeah, like, his pattern's pretty obvious. You wait for him to open up, you chuck a missile in there. He kind of spits out things to get more missiles.
He just kind of bounces around like one of those, like, DVD screensavers.
Dude, he's gonna hit the corner. Watch. Darn it!
Spore Spawn.
But then we got to Kraid, and I think, like, that was one of those moments that really blew me away with, like, their fake out.
Because, like, the setup is so good.
It's so good because there's, like, the little guy, you know, and I'm like, oh, like, okay, that's him. You know, like, Kraid's really tiny.
Yeah, you're like, this isn't the guy I saw in Smash Bros. Flipping the whole stage.
The whole stage, like, what is this? And then there's the bigger Kraid, and I'm like, oh, okay, like, that, you know, that's pretty big. I'll believe that. And then we got to like the real Kraid, and I was just like, oh my goodness! Like, and I was blown away again, like, by the spectacle of it. Of like, holy crap, he's huge.
That is, like, in a, I don't know, something about just the Super Nintendo, that was, like, Super Metroid was one of the games where Nintendo flexed. They're like, on the NES, the biggest we could get a boss, and they weren't usually this size, but the biggest we could get a boss was taking up, you know, from the ground of the screen to the top of the screen. And that was a boss that was, like, multiple screens in sizes with multiple moving parts. Like, that boss is just a technical feat for the time of that game.
That was the thing for me, like, looking at that, it was like from that moment on, I was in awe of the game, of, like, how much it pushed the technology from then. Because, like, I was thinking of Super Nintendo, and I'm like, oh yeah, like, you know, it's a step above the NES, but, like, you know, it's not the N64. It's not the N64.
Yeah.
You know, like, I knew what would come afterwards, and so I was like, yeah, like, it won't. But, like, the way it pushed that hardware, I was in awe. I was like, dude, this is something special. That was where I was in for the long. I was like, this is a good time.
That was the point where it was like there at the microphone, ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Yeah, that's right. I think that was where we ended, like, that session.
Yeah, that first session we stopped at Kraid. No, we beat Kraid, and then I was meandering because I was like, I forget where to go next.
Yeah.
And that's where we stopped.
Oh, man.
But yeah.
And then I think, yeah, because afterwards it was just a power-up hunt, and, like, that's another reason why, like, this playthrough is so special to me. Was, like, it was just us, like, chatting and joking and, like, having a good time with this game while we just, like, explored. Because, like, you know, I was watching you do it, but I was like, oh, dude, like, what's up there? Like, I want to go. And I will say, like, we would have taken so much longer to beat this game if I had been the one playing, because I would have wanted to go and turn over every single rock and tree and branch. Right. I would have been like, no, we're getting every item. Every item. Every missile, every super missile. Because like there was that one super missile that like I was like, how do you get that? And like you went past it and then you got lost and then never went back. And I still sit there and I'm like, how do you get that super missile? I need to know.
Yep. It's just like you wander around the world. You're like checking every inch for power-ups, and you find a little rock and you lift it, and it's like, ha, you found me. And you're like, not super missiles. Don't care.
It's funny too, like the progression of your power. Because like you get those first missiles, and they're just like, you feel so powerful when you're walking around with 5 missiles.
Yep.
You're like, dude, I can break anything. And then like by the end of the game, we had like 80, and we're just like chucking them like they're like they're nothing.
Mm-hmm.
We're like, man, where's the super missiles?
Yeah. Where's the good stuff?
Where's the screw attack?
Or just like, sigh, I'm out of super missiles, gotta switch to regular missiles.
Yeah.
I will say, quick tangent.
Yeah.
So one of the things that maybe listeners, again, I don't know how well these will do. It may just be the regular guys who don't care, but like any Metroid fans out there listening who may be a little bit like, oh, why did you play the game for him to show it off and not just let him play it himself? One of the aspects of that was time, because neither of us really have a lot of time.
Yeah,
so it's kind of like...
we live so far apart.
Yeah. It's kind of like...
I'm married and have a baby.
Yeah.
and I run a D&D game. Like, I have no time.
This guy's got time for nothing, so...
So I'm like, I can set aside, like, 3 hours, like, once every, like, other week to do something like this. Like, I'll make time for that, and I'll definitely watch the game. And I feel like I got plenty of the experience. It scratched the Metroid itch for me.
Mm-hmm. and that's the other thing, too, now is, like... So, with the Metroid games, the way we're going to do it is that I am going to be the ones playing and just showing him the games as just, like, a visual experience.
I might pick up my own copy of Dread and play that on my own.
Oh, of course. At that point, probably, like, that'll be the one we've both got Switches and everything. It's a new game.
Yeah, and then like that'll be the one where we don't play it together, and then we'll come back and compare notes.
But mostly for the sake of time, like, and we want to get you up to speed so you can play. So Dread
I can't play Dread
when it comes out, like, without having to like hide from spoilers on the internet and all that.
Yeah. Speaking of spoilers, we probably should have put a spoiler warning at the beginning of this.
For what? For Super
I don't know. Super Metroid. I know it's an old game.
For this age-old...
I know. It's if anyone is listening and hasn't played Super Metroid, like...
I'm like...
Do yourself the favor and play it.
My guy, you are the last person on the planet.
I probably am.
Everyone else.
I'm new to this. And it was so, like, wonderful and exciting.
I'm just like, those starving kids in Africa played Super Metroid before you. and then they probably ate the console.
Probably.
Anyway, is that offensive? I don't know if that's offensive, but...
I don't know, it's our podcast. We do what we want.
It's not true. Okay. So the time is, like, the most important issue.
Yeah.
The other aspect of why I just showed him the game instead of playing it is that just between like us and our third brother, it's a pretty normal thing for us to do where we have one person playing and the others just watch. It's just kind of been a tradition that's gone on for a while. And sometimes it is, like you said, the case of like, oh, the other sibling's just playing and I don't want to replay it, so I'll just watch.
It was like, for me, it was one of the reasons I had the hardest time reminding myself that I liked Wind Waker, was because I had to go through the Forsaken Fortress 12 times because we each went through it twice, and then our save data got wiped, and so we each went through it again twice.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, I'm so sick of this dungeon.
Right. So that is it. I don't know. I think maybe people, I don't know. All you YouTubers out there in the gaming world, you watch Let's Plays. You know what I'm talking about. Sometimes it's just as much fun to watch someone play a game as it is to play yourself. Sometimes it's even more fun when it's a game that might be a little tough to get into in the first place. And so I think that is an important thing, at least just for us, that we do, is like, we get a game that like everyone wants to see, and we just kind of elect someone to see it, and then we play through it. And in this format, like I can assure you, I did my best to show him all the things in the game. Like,
oh yeah, no, I felt like I got the full game experience. Like it was great. I enjoyed it so much.
Maybe not 100%, because I could never find where those super missiles, like how to get to them.
Yeah, like 95, but like 95 is still an A.
Yeah.
Anyways, man.
So that was a slight tangent there, but like now we're just gonna get to the point where we're just like talking about the game.
So next thing on my list of notes, I have Crocomire, who is the best boss in the game. I loved him so much.
I am so happy that he loved Crocomire. That was one of my favorite parts of the game as well.
Because it was so funny. It came out of nowhere because we were just lost, I think, at that point.
No. It was I was lost for a while, and then we quit that session, and then it was the next session. Right. I was like, okay, we're gonna get some power-ups, and then I know right where to go.
Okay. That's funny because then we kept getting lost afterwards. But
right.
So Crocomire, like, I loved him because I was just like, again, it was one of those very cinematic boss fights where I was just like, oh my goodness, like, he's pushing you back, and then you just pushed him into the lava, and we just it was great. Like, the way it was so, like, over the top, the way he melted. And I was just like, oh, like, he was kind of cute. I feel bad. And then you sent me the Brawl in the Family comic about how, like, I gotta explain it. But the comic was like him just making gurgling alien noises, and then the translation is like, "Oh, hello, madam. Like, welcome to my humble abode." And then you just start unloading missiles on him.
He's just there. He's friendly. He offers you a cup of tea, but since you don't speak his language, you're just like, a monster, and you just blast him.
And like, no, and then you go to like the spike wall, and you're like, this is what he was trying to do, and I'm like, oh, okay, so he wasn't that friendly. You knew what to do,
right?
And then his skeleton breaks through the wall, and I'm like, oh shoot, part 2, and then he dies. It's
such a good little scare.
It was such a great fake out. And then the fact that like his skull stayed there became a running joke for the rest of our playthrough.
Every time we head down that hallway, we just say hi to Crocomire.
We're like, oh, hi, what's up, Crocomire? Like, how you doing? Hanging in there. They need like Crocomire like in the lava pit, but then it's like one of those cat posters is like, hang in there.
It's just the skeleton of Crocomire hanging.
Yeah. But like, I think we memed him into being my favorite character.
Yeah, that's probably because like it was just a fun experience. But the fact that like every time we'd like, turn on the game and start playing again, like we just crack jokes about Crocomire.
Well, because I think after we beat him, we went off and we got lost, and we're like, where are we supposed to go? And you're like, where's Crocomire? Like, we I think we need to go back there. And then we kept saying it, and so we just kept talking about him. He's like, "Where's Crocomire?" And it's like, "Oh yeah, he's dead." But he was easily my favorite boss.
Yeah,
I absolutely loved him. I thought he was kind of cute.
Yep. He's just a little three-eyed Yoshi. Just
literally, like after that session, I went on to Tumblr and I looked up like all the Crocomire art I could find. Because I was like, I need artwork of my favorite boss. He's so great. And then like that was where I found the one that it was like the Zelda CDI parody of just like, you killed me. Good.
It's so good. If I can, now it's my turn to gush about Crocomire just for a sec.
Do it. I need to take a drink because I'm losing my voice.
Do it. So one of the things, again, Crocomire is another one of the points of like where this game pushed the boundaries of what Nintendo games could do. And this time, I'm not talking about graphically, like the scene of him melting in like the lava is, it's delightful. It's the best kind of gore. It's it's cartoony, it's punchy, it's shocking, it's just great. But like, in terms of just like the content of it, this is like one of those rare instances of like a big Nintendo game that is T-rated. And like before, like most Nintendo games were not really mature. Like they couldn't even be mature. Like they didn't have the graphics to be mature. And so again, with their flex on the Super Nintendo, they're like, hey, this is not a baby's game. This is a game that does not mess around. Like, it's kill or be killed in this hostile alien planet. This freaking three-eyed monster is coming in trying to kill you. And so you defend yourself by, knocking it back into the lava. And this ain't some, like, freaking... What's the first Koopaling in Super Mario World?
I don't know. I just think of Bowser and like the axe on the bridge.
But yeah, or something like Bowser, where it's just, he falls into the lava. It's cute. No, he like writhes in pain and his skin melts off.
He crawls out and screams and then falls back in.
And there's scream sound effects, and it's just like the game is not messing around here. Like this is a step up from your Super Mario. And then it hits you again with that because you head back out to the spike wall and the skeleton busts through the wall and you're like, oh, it's round 2. And it was just a fake out, but it's like, it gets ya.
It got me.
And it's so good. It's so freaking good. Anyways, that's me talking about Crocomire.
No, that was everything I felt about it. Like it was Crocomire is my favorite boss. Maybe tied because we haven't talked about my other favorite boss. But we'll get to that.
Crocomire for Smash.
Please. His final smash is he falls in lava and dies.
His final smash is everyone falls in lava. And then you play
his final smash is he Kool-Aid Man busts through the spike wall.
Yeah. And then you play as like the skeleton Crocomire.
That's one of his alternate costumes.
Oh
yeah. So then we went to the wrecked ship. Yeah. That was, man, like again, aesthetic. Holy crap, that area, that might have been my favorite area in the game. Just because like the way the power's out, so you can't go through like most of the doors. You get the power back on.
But before, like with the power outage and stuff, there's things like the save points and the energy recharge that are just out of power, and you're like, I need those. I can't use them.
Because what did we call it? Water World?
Water World, yeah.
Oh, that was where we made the joke about Samus going to Water World, still wearing like the Varia suit, but then like wearing a pair of like swim trunks over it. And it was like these like 80s and 90s like colorful designs for these swim trunks.
That's right, because that was the thing. Like the obvious joke that a lot of people do is like the bikini over the power suit. But like we took the absurdity even a step further, and we're like, no, it's just swim trunks, like
swim trunks and maybe like some water wings,
just to further confuse people about the gender of Samus.
Oh, of course, because he's so cool.
He's super cool and doesn't afraid of anything.
I only ever got the padded winter clothing ending to Metroid.
How are you supposed to know?
But then we got to Fantoon, and I think, what was it, like, because I was sitting there thinking, like, oh, okay, we fought the plant, we fought Kraid, we fought Crocomire, and this is a Fantoon, and I was just thinking, like, oh, dude, we're almost done with the game, and you're like, oh, no, like, the plant doesn't count as one of the big bosses, and neither does Croc, and I was like, what?
Wait.
How long is this game? And like suddenly, like, the length of the game just doubled for me.
I think that was the thing. Like, we went into this, like, you knew about how there's, like, the big four that you gotta beat.
Yeah, because we saw the statue.
Right.
Of, like, the big four, but I didn't know who they were.
But I didn't stay there long enough for you to, like, look at them and, like, see who they were. And, like, the one that catches your eye instantly is Ridley, who we already know is
which we've already seen.
Yeah.
You know,
so at that point, you were like, "Oh, we've taken down like 3 of the big 4, right?" And I was like, "No."
You're like, no.
This ain't your Legend of Zelda. Get the 7 medallions and then go fight Ganon. This is like, there are other bosses in the game just to make this game cool.
But yeah, no, Fantoon was fun, and then. Like, it's cool that he was the ghost on the haunted ship, because there were also ghosts wandering around the ship, and that was great. Fantoon was great. He was, like, the first where I was like, okay, this game is hard, and I'm kind of glad I'm not the one playing, so that we can actually finish this. Because he would have taken me forever.
On my first playthrough, he was definitely one of the ones I died to a lot. I will say about our time through the wrecked ship, the reason why I really started enjoying that point is because during our playthrough, I noticed that was the point when, rather than me pointing things out to you and being like, oh, this is cool, you started pointing things out, like you were just noticing them on your own without me having to say anything, and I was like, yes, he's getting it.
I think that was also a day where, like, I think there was a holiday or something, and so I got to come home early, and so I was, like, even more awake, and I was just absorbing the game even more.
Yeah.
But, like, that was where the game, again, just started kicking off for me. I was like, what else does this game do? How else does it push this hardware? Like, and it was so much fun. Oh gosh, I looked at my notes.
There's I was gonna say in the wreck ship, there's the little, like, R2-D2 things with the legs that just, like, walk around.
Oh, those little guys!
And you have to, like, push them onto the spikes to like get across.
Yep. Oh man. So I looked at my notes of what I wrote, and I forgot about this bit where we were like, "Where's Ridley?"
Yep.
Because you kept being like, oh, I think Ridley's here. Like, you kept saying it.
So that was the thing, like, playing through this. It had been a while since I played this, and I'm not so good at the game that I'm speedrunner supreme, making Hoda Ruby shaking his boots, that I'm gonna come, like, beat his time or anything. Like, I'm not the best at this game, and I don't know it super well. I just like it. And so all I remembered about Ridley is that he was somewhere in Norfair. And so anytime we'd be anywhere in Norfair, I'd be like, oh, I think this is it. Dude, I think we're about to fight Ridley. Like, it's gonna happen. We're gonna fight Ridley. Like, it's coming. And then it just wouldn't. Because he clearly wasn't there. And it just kept happening.
Oh, man. And then I think, like, after that, like, I told a coworker that, like, the next day, and he was like, no, like, because you go through his mouth, and I was like, okay, and then we got to that point, I was like, oh, shoot, like, it's actually him, and then it was still, like, forever before we got there.
Right, because you go through his mouth to get to his lair, and then you have to go through his lair.
Side note, I just got the Dragon joke that you told at the beginning of this. Good. I forgot his name because we annihilated him. That was another thing. We did it the fun way.
Yep. So the thing about Dragon is that he's in Waterworld, which is the kind of kind of stinky part of Super Metroid. Like, no one likes slogging through water until you get the
gravity suit.
Yeah, the gravity suit. And
we needed the grapple beam. Because I remember you kept being like, we need the grapple beam. And I was like, I mean, we could probably platform our way across. You're like, no. We need the grapple beam.
We need the grapple beam, and you'll see why. And then we got to Dragon, and I showed him why we need the grapple beam.
And that was so cool. Like I'll admit, it made Dragon a little less memorable of a boss.
Mm-hmm.
But like that moment stood out to me as like, that is so cool that you can do that. That like you can eat all that damage, but then kill him in one shot.
Now this, I keep having to make disclaimers for, like, the Metroid fans and, like, apologizing for crap. This time, like, for people who haven't played it and don't know about the thing with Dragon, so it's an underwater boss fight, and basically the whole thing about it is there's these little turrets on the side of the walls that if you destroy, they make electrical sparks. And there's, Dragon has an attack where he picks you up. And so if you grapple beam onto the sparks, you basically, like, electricity zap fry both you and him, and it's an instant kill for the boss. It's just a little Easter egg that's, like, another way to fight the boss. And so that's what we're talking about when we say that I zap fried Dragon real fast.
Yeah, like, I loved that. Like, you're like, all right, here's what we're gonna do. Because I was still, like, reeling from, like, oh, shoot, we're in a boss fight.
Uh-huh.
And then suddenly it's like, oh, it's over. Oh my goodness.
It's over fast.
Yeah, like it happened so fast. And the fact that like you took all that damage from it, I was just like, dude, this game keeps blowing me away.
Right. And then the real salt in the wound with that boss is the fact that there's like the little baby dragons that like pick up the dead mom and carry it away. After the fight is over,
just wanted to eat it.
I'm not gonna lie. When I saw for the first time in Undertale, where, another old game. Spoilers for Undertale. If you kill Muffet, how the little spider comes down and sets down the rose and then walks away.
Yeah,
that scene reminded me of that in Super Metroid, where the babies come and carry the mom away. Mm-hmm. So that it's just a little detail there that's like, they didn't need to put it in the game. It doesn't do anything for you gameplay wise, but it's just one of those little touches that Super Metroid does that just is, it's so nice.
Yeah, it was good.
Mm-hmm.
But then afterwards, you're like, all right, there is one thing standing between us and the end, and that's the big purple dinosaur.
Yep.
And so, like, by that point, we started like getting more stuff for Ridley, and like we got most of the power ups,
mm-hmm.
and that took like the bulk of the session was like getting to him, and so it was late. And we were like, all right, let's making it like one or two attempts,
mm-hmm.
And just Ridley is tough.
He is for me as like not a speedrunner or anything of this game, as a very casual player. That is just one of the toughest bosses for me in video games. Is that Super Metroid Ridley fight? Like,
thing that I noticed about him,
he is tough.
He takes a lot of hits.
Oh yeah,
like more than any other boss up to that point, especially because of Dragon. Like we nuked him in one shot.
Now, part of that is because by that point, a more seasoned player would have a lot more super missiles.
Yeah, that was the other thing.
And be done with the fight very quickly.
That was another thing that I was like, oh man, like we don't have a lot of super missiles. I figured we didn't get that many, but then like we'd see some that we couldn't get to, and I was just like, oh man, like we need more super missiles.
Yep.
But
that was the thing. We were there. I gave it like an attempt or two. But it was late.
We were running out of steam.
And so I was just like, I had work the next day, and I was just like, I want to stay here and just kill Ridley now, but like we gotta call it. And so we just postponed it till next session. I think,
yeah, it was either like a week or 2 weeks. I think it was just a week. But we're like, all right, we'll come back and we'll get him next time. Like that will be the next sessions. We'll just kill Ridley. And then I remember that day, I was at work and I was like, I'm so hyped to fight him. I gotta hype up my brother and make sure he can do this.
I think that was the thing. We were talking about it like the entire week. Like since the day after we played, we were just like, we gotta kill Ridley, man.
Ridley's gotta die. And so like the day of, I'd stockpiled a ton of just like memes about killing Ridley. And like I made a couple. And then I just was like, bro, have the, like, I sent one, I think it was like the Brawl in the Family, just like the Justin Bailey comic about Samus just unloading missiles on Ridley. And I was like, I've got a ton of these. Like, I scrolled up and I'm looking at it and you're like, good, I need their power. And I was like, sending power. And then I just sent like this wave of just memes about like Ridley's gonna die
for real. Like our Discord, like during that day was just Ridley memes, like scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and it's just Ridley memes.
Oh, I'm scrolling back through it as we're recording this, and I forgot about the one. I think it's from the show. I think it's Flapjack.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's Ridley, and he's like, you've got a lot of nerve coming in here, and then it's just Sam, you got a lot of nerve being alive. Like, that one killed me. I was like, this is too good. And like, we sent so many, and then suddenly, like, I think it took us 2 attempts.
Yeah, I think I still died on the first try, and then after that I got him.
Like, and it was so like almost anticlimactic how fast we did it.
Because it was like we had this long, grueling fight, and then I just barely didn't make it and died, and I was like, no, we were like, so close.
We'll go back and we'll get him the next time.
And then I just steamrolled him.
Yeah, and it was so funny, like just how anticlimactic it was. Like it was still awesome. The boss fight was great, and like Ridley definitely earned his place as like the difficult boss that he is.
And
like it was very memorable. But it was just so funny, all that build up, and then it was like the second attempt. We're like, got him.
Yep.
And like it was fun because like we were laughing about it, followed then by like the harrowing scene of going into the next room and realizing the baby's gone.
That was the one, because like that's the theming of the game is so good, but like the fact that like the whole point of this is like Ridley comes in, kills everybody, and takes the baby and runs. And so you're like, the whole point of like why the adventure started is you're like, I gotta get the baby back. And you beat Ridley, and so you're like, all right, where's my baby? And then you just find the broken container with no Metroid in sight, and it's just like, shoot, where did Junior go?
It was a great reminder for me, because like it had been weeks. Like it took us a couple weeks to beat the game, just because we only had like a few hours to play each day.
Right.
And so like it reminded me, oh yeah, that was the whole point of this, was to go save the baby, and it's not here. Followed by joking, because like, what did you call the room? You called it Ridley's private bathroom.
Something like that.
But yeah, like, and then that was where you're like, all right, dude, like, it is a mad dash to the end. Like, do we want to just finish the game? I was like, well, I expected us to spend longer on Ridley, so yeah, let's just finish it.
Yeah, that was the thing that I was kind of debating with myself on, like, do we do the cleanup and get the 100% and get Samus in a bikini? Wow, so cool. Or do we just like go straight for the end and see the thing that really matters. And so, just for the sake of, him seeing the game for the first time, I was just like, yeah, let's beat the game. Let's do it now.
For me, I would have gone and done it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was all for, I was like, dude, let's save the baby. Even though I've played other M's, so I know this isn't gonna end well. But I was like, let's go. Mm-hmm. Let's go. Finish this game. And then I got to see actual Metroids.
Yep.
They scared the ever-loving crap out of me. Because I think you see they're not fully formed Metroids, they're like the beta Metroids.
The ones that the space pirates are just kind of like working on that aren't like full Metroids, and you can just blast them with the ice beam and they're dead.
Yeah, but that was so many weeks ago that I forgot about those, and so just seeing the fully formed Metroids, and mind you, I was aware the Metroids should all be dead. What are these doing here?
Why are there more?
And then the thing was, you were killing them because you knew what to expect from them,
right?
But I think one got the jump on you.
Yep.
And I watched it just tear through your health, and I was just like, "Oh my goodness! Do not let those things live!" Oh no! I started panicking because just one Metroid
is all it takes.
and I just that one, and you were still fine. You had a good chunk of health left, but it that thing took a bite out of you.
Yep.
And that left me being this is why these enemies are memorable.
This is why
the ice beam is the best thing to have right now.
It was really just the moment where you see this is why the game series is named after these creatures.
Dude, they scared the crap out of me. And I noticed, I was like, we can't go through the next door until we kill all the enemies in the room. That means all these Metroids have to die so that they still go extinct. Oh man.
And just that last area, that trip, it's grueling how many Metroids they make you fight.
There's so many. And you fight more than one. You fight a bunch of them at once. And I was just I don't like these.
You walk into a room and there's just a big cluster of them flying around, and it's each one of these takes how many missiles to kill?
Yeah. Yeah, remember when we were throwing missiles away like they were nothing?
Yep.
And now it's I kind of want those back.
Yeah.
And then there's the room with just the disintegrated, the dead creatures everywhere.
Yep. There's just a lot of dust.
There's a Chozo thing that just dissolves into ash.
Yep.
And I'm like, what the heck? And then there were those weird jumping things that you couldn't kill. And then there's one of those that it was turned to ash, and I was like, okay, something killed this. And then one jumps at you, only to get slurped on by the biggest freaking Metroid. And again, because I played other M, I was like, oh, the baby! And then it turned on you. And I was like, is this not the baby?
It's just a big Metroid?
Is this just a big Metroid that you are going to have to fight? And then it stopped.
Mm-hmm.
And that got such a visceral emotion out of me of just I was shook. I was because it leaves you at one hit point. And I was just oh my goodness. The baby almost killed us.
You're just sitting there half dead, just on death's doorstep looking up, and then it starts making its cute little Metroid sounds.
Oh,
you're just
cry is so cute.
You're just is that you, Junior? Is that you? Is that why you didn't kill me? And it just, runs out of the room what have I done?
No, and it has that moment of just like, oh no, I hurt Mama.
Yep.
I was just like, oh, good baby Metroid, big baby Metroid. And that's the other thing too is again, I just had a kid, so I had this severe parental reaction to that moment.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh, I wasn't ready for that. Because I love my son. I love my little boy. And so much of what happened with the baby Metroid, I wasn't ready for.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get to Mama Brain. Oh man. See, I loved Crocomire, but right up there with Crocomire, Mother Brain was one of my favorite moments in this whole game.
Mm-hmm.
I loved how because we got to the first phase and you were like, this is 1-to-1 the final boss of the original game, and I was so sucked into the moment.
Yep.
And then she entered phase 2, and holy crap, there was her big laser, and I was like, that's the thing from Smash Bros.
Yep.
And I was losing it. It was so cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then it she just starts blasting you. And what was it? It was, you told me, you're like, it is possible to die to that. And that was where I was like, this is such a cool boss.
I was just like yes, there's scripted stuff, but it's very possible to game over to that. If you get blasted too early.
I've never seen a game do that with something scripted, and so it was so fascinating seeing that. And then the baby came in,
mm-hmm.
and it was the way it was how Mother Brain turned into that ash thing, and I was just like, oh shoot, she's gonna die. Yep. And again, the whole time I knew it was coming.
Yep.
The baby starts healing you, and then Mother Brain gets up, and oh, I knew it was coming. And it still got me. It got just the most heart-wrenching emotion out of me. And then you are blessed with my favorite weapon in the whole game. I've heard multiple names for it, because I believe its official name is the Hyper Beam.
That one sounds right. I've also heard the Miracle Beam.
And that's the thing, I love the name the Miracle Beam, because that is exactly what that moment felt like.
Yeah.
And it was that shift where you were fighting her earlier and she was taking the hits and hurting, but then when you hit her with that and you hear Mother Brain scream and her head reels back, I was like, kill her, freaking get her.
It's just such a good the sound design, the visual design, everything about it is just so.
The sounds of the Metroid and Mother Brain.
Mm-hmm.
That whole moment was so good. I was jumping up and down in my seat that whole time.
That is that fight. That is my favorite boss fight in the game, I think. I also really like the Ridley one just for how tough it is. But that fight just does everything so well with the storytelling with no words.
Yeah,
and the action, the challenge.
There was no dialogue in that moment, and yet a picture's worth 1,000 words. It again, I keep saying it. It got such a visceral emotion out of me when the Metroid died, and then you just go to town on Mother Brain. Because that's always, I've said this because we've talked game design a lot, and when it comes to final bosses, there are two types of final bosses that I really enjoy. There's either the one that It's really difficult, and it is a test of everything you have learned up to that point. Or it is the power trip.
Yep.
Where just you power up and you unload. And like that fight just combined both of those in this like one of the most beautiful ways.
Mm-hmm.
Because like after we finished the game, like we went and we watched the CG cutscene from Mother M, because I was like, I need to watch this again just to see it in like full HD glory. Because like, dude, from the moment that we finished the game, I thought about that moment like nonstop. That had such a big impact on me, and I was so glad that you were there with me during that.
Right. Now, here's my thing about that scene and how truly powerful it is. In my case, playing through the game for the first time, I had that spoiled as well. Like, I not only did I see like the other M like cutscene, but like I watched other people play, you know, Super Metroid before and saw that boss fight like many times. And yet something about the first time that I held the controller in my hands and did that, I would say a pretty similar, like, intense feeling came over me watching that. I knew exactly what was going to happen. And maybe even it was, like, worse. It was more intense.
I think part of it...
knowing what was going to happen. Because you just sit there and you're like, oh no, like, the baby, like, I don't want it to, but, like, that's how it ends, like...
Well, I think also part of it, too, is that, like... Because afterwards, I went back and I looked up that cutscene again. Because I was like, I have to watch it again. And, like, it didn't hit as hard, I think, because it was the emotional journey leading up to that moment.
That, too.
Of, like... Because, like, this had been weeks of us playing it. And then to just, like, have it all play out. It happened so fast. And, like... so many things happened in that moment, and I was like, I wasn't left time to process it, because also immediately after Mother Brain dies, we go into the next segment of the game, which is get out before the planet explodes.
Right. That's the hallmark of the Metroid games. Just you beat the final boss. Now get out of here before things explode.
You know, it's like, you've done your part, go. You know, and we did save the animals. That was, oh man, that was a thing. Because we talked about it. Because you mentioned saving the animals, and I was like, I don't know what that means. And then and then you reminded me, because we watched Terminal Montage, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I know that. Okay, let's save the animals. And it was.
Well, like, it's funny that you saw the Terminal Montage thing and you say save the animals, because his joke about it was that, they suck, actually.
Yeah.
But, like...
they're the speedrunner's worst nightmare.
Yeah.
The moral quandary of, but I don't get out fast enough if I save them.
Yeah.
But, like, no, and that was the thing, when, like, you ran in there and you blew the hole open, you're like, go, and that one stays behind to look at you. And you're like, get going! You're gonna die!
Get out of here!
And then as you leave, just the room starts filling with lava, and you're like, oh yeah, that's what happens if you don't. And I was just like, oh.
Now, here, the thing that was fun, I admit I played that up for theatrics. You just have to blast the door open and then you can go.
I know.
But, like, it's just so much fun, like, the personality of, like, the scene.
I preferred... I'm glad you stayed behind and had that whole scene. Because, like, there are people who probably didn't get to see that.
Right.
And, like... ah, man. That was... I love that. We got the 1 pixel, and I was like, that was worth it. I feel accomplished.
It just happens purely so you can feel good about yourself as a person, but it's such a nice little thing they put in the game.
And then we watched it, and then I was just sitting there and like, dude, I kid you not, I have not stopped thinking about this game since then. Like, since we finished it, I have not stopped thinking about it. This, you know, we're gonna probably play a bunch more games together. And maybe that'll change my opinion on it. But, like, the fact that, like, you were there with me, like experiencing that made it all the more special.
Mm-hmm. It was honestly like I feel pretty proud of myself in the sense of how I presented the game, and
you did
also
a phenomenal
just the
job.
experience we had going through it. One of the things that I think made it so good, and once again, like I don't mean to rag on like story heavy games. There are tons of like RPGs that I think are very good, tons of dialogue heavy games that I think are very good. But the fact that it wasn't like cutscenes all the time and like all this story being narrated at you, it had the same feeling as like just like a road trip. Like we were just going around seeing the sights, having a good time, and just chatting about whatever while we were doing it.
That's a really good way to put it, actually, because that's definitely how it felt for me. It was such a fun journey.
Yeah, and it's not the kind of like playthrough you can get with like a game where you want to pay attention to the story. And so for me, that was one of the fun things about it, because just playing Super Metroid on my own, it was a fun time. It's a really good game. I liked it. Having a buddy there to chat with while I played Super Metroid, casually, but like playing through it, it just made the experience so much better.
Yeah, I definitely agree, because like, and that's one of the things too about the game is that like there's so much downtime between the big events of like, hey, let's go explore, let's go look over here. And so like the fact that like we got to chat and have fun, and like discuss the, like I have written on here like favorite moments and like favorite everything. I guess we can go down that. But like,
yeah,
honestly, like a lot of those things, they're on that list because we were doing it together.
Right. I absolutely agree with that. So, in the case of this first podcast, we just kind of went through the entire game, basically, almost play by play. We didn't talk about some parts of the game as much as others, but for the most part, like that was pretty much the entire game.
It was. And I think part of it was just that I wanted to play by play, like re-experience that game, because as soon as we finished that thing, we were like, you asked me like, do you want to just start recording this podcast now? I just gush about the game, or do you want to like give it 2 weeks because we got D&D the next week?
Yep.
And to like kind of let the game digest and like organize your thoughts so that it, it's probably something a little more entertaining. And so that's like, I've been just going back through the whole adventure and just thinking about it, and like some of the most standout moments of that game. And it was like, for me, that game was the journey. Like that whole journey, and then just that wonderful finale.
Right. And so the thing about like the way we're gonna do the podcast in the future with other games, especially like more story heavy games, or in the case of like just longer games, like we're probably not gonna do a full play by play with our thoughts of like everything. That kind of stuff is better suited to shorter games like Super Metroid. But also, like, I think that just goes to show the quality of the game, that we have something meaningful to say about every single part in the game.
Oh yeah, and I mean, like, it's funny because for me, like, there's a lot I felt like that we cut out of our playthrough, because like there was a lot of us wandering around being like, where do we go?
Right.
Or me trying to watch you make a jump that you're like, why am I having trouble doing this? I'm looking at you, Bubble Room. We spent so long trying to climb up there, and then it wasn't where we were supposed to go.
Yeah, there's a lot of like meandering and stuff, which again gave more time for just idle banter. But
again, like it made the game that much more memorable for me. I loved it. I'll be honest, like I'm a hardcore Metroid fan now.
Yeah.
Like I am in it for this franchise. I see why people love it. I still like Other M because I'm grateful that it was my introduction, and it, it still hits certain niches that I like. But I can definitely say Super Metroid is a better game, and it's one that I'm going to look back on very fondly for a very long time.
And again, in the case of me just like kind of showing you these games, with you having access to like the Nintendo Switch Online library, like these are games that you can play on your own time as well.
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah.
That is,
at some point I'm gonna wanna like actually sit down and play through this game myself. Because part of the thing too is that like I have a son, and right now he can't even hold his head up by himself.
Right.
But eventually I'm gonna be introducing games to him and be like, these are games that like I really enjoyed growing up, and like I can definitely say this is one of those games that I'm gonna introduce to him, because this game is something real special.
Right. And that's, I think there's something about this game and like the magic and the charm of it that is, it transcends just like I played it as a kid, so I'm nostalgic for it. Because neither of us grew up with this game.
Oh, neither of us.
I played it as a teen, like well into like gaming and stuff, and for you even further beyond, you've finally gotten to take a look at this as an adult.
I wasn't even the one playing, and it still like was an experience for me.
It was still just so like enticing and interesting, and this is there's always I guess the thing that the internet says about like, is there really a perfect game, and like whether or not you can actually consider a game perfect, and whether
That's
or not a game
taste,
right,
but yeah,
and whether or not a game deserves like to be 10 out of 10 if games can't be perfect, and all of that. My thing about Super Metroid is that it's not my most favorite video game in the world. There are other video games that I like more for other reasons. But if there ever were such a thing as a perfect video game, I do think Super Metroid is that.
It definitely, for me, would be up there as a contender. Because, like, there's so many things it does well.
And so the exciting thing about this going forward is now you've got like the rest of the franchise to check out. Like,
yeah, which again, it's really fun. I'm a little sad that like there aren't a lot of Metroid games after this one because it's been so long. But like I picked the best time to get into the franchise because like it's coming back, it's getting hype again, and we got Dread on the horizon, and it's so exciting to me that I'm like, oh shoot, I picked a great time. Like, I'll be honest, I'm probably gonna pick up Samus and Smash now.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna start playing Samus. I'm probably gonna be terrible, but like,
oh, it's okay. You can just zone and camp the whole time and piss everyone off.
Full circle.
Yeah. Well, and the thing that I'm really hoping, because like now you can appreciate with the rest of the Metroid fans, oh, there's not a lot of games in this series, and it's not that popular, and everyone's sad. In much the same way that it happened with Fire Emblem, I do believe that Dread is going to create sort of a resurgence in the series that's going to get more people interested, like more fans are going to come into this. And it's going to motivate Nintendo to make more Metroid games. Because, like, you can tell Metroid Dread is, like, the big game for this year. As far as we know, like, there's probably going to be another announcement towards, like, the holiday. But, like, with Metroid Dread on the horizon and it being, like, the game that's getting bundled with the new model of the Switch and like getting all this PR on the internet. Nintendo did not shout out the 30th anniversary of Zelda, but they most certainly shouted out the 30th anniversary of Metroid.
I think it's because they're trying to be quiet about Skyward, or not Skyward, Breath of the Wild 2.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's also kind of like, well, we don't have too much Zelda news for this year, but like in a lot of the same ways that like Fire Emblem was this kind of obscure thing that was like, for most of the time it was just a Japan thing, and then it came to the West and it was still like this kind of average selling generic whatever thing. And then it got on the 3DS and it exploded in popularity.
Oh, yeah. Well, not only that, but like Awakening for Fire Emblem had so much like heart and soul poured into it. And like it was such a big, like groundbreaking title that then it just like brought the franchise back full force.
They did that thing where they're like, well, we're afraid that we're not going to be able to keep making these, so we got to make this the biggest, best game.
And then turns out a really big, good game makes it really popular.
Yep, and then it gets successful, and then it lives forever, and then Fates happens, and we all get sad. Anyway.
That's okay. We got 3 houses that I need to play.
We'll get to that one, too.
Eventually.
But
yeah,
like I have a feeling that's gonna happen with Metroid, and hopefully Nintendo sees that that's happening, and try and do that with more of their forgotten series.
I legit hope it does, because it's such a good franchise.
We're talking about it like it's a dog. Such a good dog.
Yeah.
But
the only thing I
dog.
have left on my notes, I kind of went a little bit out of order because I started going into my final thoughts. But I skipped just some of like my favorites from the game.
Yeah, I admit. So this is a little segment we're gonna do on these podcasts. Just every once in a while, maybe not for everyone, who knows, but we're just gonna go over like our favorite things about the game.
So first thing I have on here is favorite power up.
Ooh, tell me, mister. As a newcomer to Metroid, what's your favorite power up?
The hyper beam. Like, Miracle Laser, man. Like, just because of like the emotional connection to the story and everything, like where you get it, it's the most powerful thing. It was great. I loved it so much. But I kind of feel like that's a cop-out answer because it's so cool.
And because it's so right at the end.
Yeah. Like you don't get like a lot of time to like use it and actually play with it.
Right.
One of the ones, I have a cat running around making noise. I hope that's not coming up on the mic. That's all right. Because one of like the only complaints I had about the game. Oh my gosh, they're being so noisy. I don't know if you can hear that.
The baby.
But like there were so many things, like just power-ups and missiles and things hidden in really stupid places.
Yeah.
And I was like, how would you know? How would you ever know that was there? And then we got the X-ray like visor thing, like
the little X-ray scope.
Yeah. And then suddenly, like, the whole way I looked at the game changed, where I was like, dude, if I were the one playing this, I would walk 5 feet, X-ray. And then I walk another 5 feet, X-ray. And I would just do that.
And just comb the entire game.
Yeah, I would get the ending where Samus puts on a second suit of armor.
Yeah. Because it took that
because I took so long.
You get the one where you like the end credits has you see Samus like in an old folks home.
But that was one of those like power-ups that like I loved it because it changed the way I thought about the game. And like I don't know, it was really interesting. I also really loved the screw attack.
The screw attack like, is so good.
The screw attack combined with the space jump, like that was so broken. At that point, I was just like, all right, nothing can hurt us now.
Yep.
Except for probably the final boss and Ridley.
And they both did.
Well, it was that bit where we were on our way to Ridley, and there's like this whole long room full of enemies, and you just like space jump, screw attack, skipped everything,
Yeah.
and I was just like, oh, okay, like we don't have to do this room.
We're gods now. Absolutely. Now,
what about you?
For me personally, I think about it a lot because there's so many cool power-ups that do all these different things. I think for me, the one I like the most is the Shine Spark.
Oh, that's up there for me. I forgot. How did I forget the Shine Spark? It's so...
Or is it called the Speed Booster? I don't...
So it's the Speed Booster. The Shine Spark is your, like, dash thing.
Okay, the Shine Spark is, like, the ability that comes from it. But, yeah, the Speed Booster is my favorite, and it's no surprise because of the Shine Spark. But just, like... Visually, it looks so cool the way you build speed. You turn blue, you get the after images of Samus. It releases those Sonic the Hedgehog endorphins.
It does.
In the brain.
It's like Sonic Advance 2, where you get the after image.
And we brought this back to Sonic, the only way that our podcast can go.
Sonic will live forever.
And much like good Sonic games, it's that feeling of like building the speed.
Yeah, like you have to find the spot to like get that running start.
You get the running start, and then you just start schmoving, and then it gets even better that you can store the speed and then use the Shine Spark to just launch yourself in a direction.
Yep.
It's just such a cool ability. And that is one of the ones, while it does make me sad that it can't work exactly the same way in a 3D space, I do like that Other M did that as well. And how you get kind of the jet boosters that make you run fast, and then you do the Shine Spark and you just blast in a direction. Seeing it in a 3D environment, it looks just as good as it did like in the 2D. And so that's just one that I really like a lot.
Oh man. I also have favorite area on here.
You know, I'm all about that Lower Norfair. It's
the
music. It's just so good, man. It's a bop, and like all of the, I don't know, just it's a nice area because it's like the beginning area, and so nothing is too chaotic. And
wait,
so
Lower Norfair and Lower Brinstar?
Oh, did I say Norfair?
You said Norfair. That's why I was like, wait, really? All the lots Ridley?
No, I was thinking, well, I may have to change mine on the fly. Yeah, I was thinking Lower Brinstar, but now I'm thinking about Lower Norfair. And the Ridley fight, and quite the opposite, how intense that area is. That one could be a contender. I'm still going to say Lower Brinstar, though, just because of
Lower Brinstar's got...
all the cool music, the topping it off with the Kraid fight. Just, it's a good time. All right. So what about you now? What was your favorite area?
So I have two written here. The wrecked ship. I love, like you said, that was where I really got sucked in. Because there was so much, like you said, visual storytelling in that area. Like, even when we weren't fighting or killing anything, like, or any bosses or big moments, like, just being in that area, there was a story there, and it was so cool. And then the other one I have was the power bomb in, like, the glass tunnel.
Oh, yeah! And that's the entrance to Waterworld.
Again, just visually stunning. That, once again, like, the Super Nintendo... we've said it multiple times, but Nintendo flex. And, like, I would think it was also that combined with you telling me that, like, that became a staple in the Metroid franchise. Where you're like, no, yeah, like, a power bomb in this, like, glass area is, like, a recurring thing in Metroid. And, like in my mind, I was thinking of like Mario, like 2D Mario games where like the axe and the bridge with Bowser is such like an iconic staple.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like the power bomb in that room, and like I was like, and that's in everything. Shoot, man, I'm so excited to do that in Dread.
You know they're
Like,
gonna put it somewhere. At least I hope they do. I mean,
better,
because I'm at least pretty sure. I still haven't seen all of the Metroid games, but I'm pretty sure it's, if not in all of them, it's in most of them.
It's in most of them. Well, and like it was such a cool moment because you're like, oh, hey, dude, like, all right, we're gonna do this now that we've got power bombs, and it was a gorgeous moment of I was in awe.
It was just one of those like playground moments where the kids are like, hey, I hear you can use a power bomb in this spot and it breaks the glass. Nuh-uh, you're lying. And then you try it and you're like, whoa!
The Mew is under the truck.
Yeah. This time it was true.
Oh, man. So favorite boss, I already talked about mine.
Right, we already did. Mine is Mother Brain.
Yep. I have Crocomire / Mother Brain. Mm-hmm. Both of those are my favorites.
Yep.
What about favorite music?
Ooh.
Yeah.
So for me, I would say, and there's a lot of them.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, I'm always going on about that Lower Bryn Star. It's a club down there.
I'll say this for me, like the music was a little less impactful for me, just because like we were talking over it most of the time.
Right.
But there are a couple of songs that definitely stood out and stayed with me.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll let you go first.
Right.
So, I think I have the feeling that like a lot of ours are the same.
Okay. So for me, I would say my favorite song in the game is the title screen music.
Yup.
Okay, good. We're on the same page here.
Yeah, I think it's because like we talked about this after we finished the game.
Yeah.
But
just the way it sets up with such an ominous, like, dark, cold feeling of just like, what am I about to play? It's got really like breathy background sounds and just like
the sound of the baby.
The sound of the baby. That's another one.
It's so good.
It just gets you in the right spirit for like, oh, here we go, it's Metroid time.
Mm-hmm. It definitely it sets the tone really well. Mm-hmm. And so I really like that. The other one that I have on here, because I mentioned like I have on here Bryn Star and the title screen, but also for me the credits music.
Yeah.
Like much like the title screen, very similar, but then it has like that triumphant bit to it that, oh man, it was heartwarming, especially after having lost the baby Metroid and stuff. Like you know, a good credit song will let you just sit and just like digest what you just experienced, and that's what I got. That's what I got from this game.
Yeah, the credits music for sure is one of those ones that just like, you have so much stressful crap. You don't even really get time to mourn the death of Junior.
No, you don't.
Because it's like you avenge them right there and you have your moment, and then it's just like, you gotta go, everything's exploding, and it's like chaotic and frantic, and then you finally just get that moment where the ship flies away, you're done with the mission, and then just like the trumpets come in and like yeah, you did it. And it's just like, it finally gives you that like second to just think about what happened.
It's almost like you're like holding your breath for that whole time.
Yeah.
And then that's the moment where you're finally able to exhale.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And that's, I'm so glad that one, the credits theme, is one of the ones they redid in Smash Bros. Because it sounds so good.
Mm-hmm. Oh man. And then I have here our favorite moment from our playthrough, which we talked a lot about of our moments. And I'll be honest, I kind of copped out a bit. I wrote a couple. There were so many great moments.
Right. I think I can say one individual one for me. It was just that week where it was the Kill Ridley week.
Yes, I have the Ridley build-up.
Like, we were just so excited for that, and we were just sending memes and just, like, joking about it and talking about it, and then we finally got there and beat him. It was just like, oh, this is awesome. So for me, that was probably my fart. My fart. Wow, good job. Freudian slip.
Good job.
That was my favorite part.
That was definitely one for me.
So one that's not that.
Okay, not that. I have like 3 others.
Shoot, man. Because do you know what the word favorite means?
I know I can't put one above each other. If I had to pick one and like one standout, it was the Mother Brain fight. Like, yeah, that was such an emotional like moment for me. Like in that playthrough, that like that's probably the number one. But also like the Crocomire memes were really fun, and like going through Waterworld and our whole argument about the gravity suit that we've sidestepped in this whole conversation.
I forgot about that. So there's so here's the thing.
That was funny, and I'm willing to just let it rest. But like that was just really fun.
I swore it was pink until you guys started saying that it wasn't, and then I looked at it and I'm like, frick, that's a purple suit. Like this whole time, like Smash Bros conditioned me. I was convinced that was, and maybe it was like the lighting on the TV, because I played it on the Wii on a CRT the first time that I did it, so maybe it looked pink then, or maybe it looked more purple and I was just stupid. But like because of like the Smash Bros skin, I was so convinced that it was pink. And then, like, we were just looking at it, and, like, you and your wife were like, nah, that's purple, dude.
And I was talking to my coworker about it, and he was like, dude, it's purple. And he starts, like, sending me, like, pictures of blatantly purple gravity suit.
And I'm like, I know it's purple in other games, I just thought it was pink in this one.
Well, and then it was funny, because then we went into a different area, and you're like, now it looks purple! It was like that was so funny to me, like that whole debate, because I was shook. That was such a memorable moment for me. Like we had so many great moments in this playthrough. But if I have to, like, looking at the list, the Ridley buildup was great. But if I have to knock all of these off the list and just keep one, it's probably the Mother Brain fight.
Right, and that's I tried to make sure, as the one presenting the game, that would be a big moment for you, because it's just, it's so good.
It was great. It was great.
All right. Do you have anything else to say about this really wonderful game?
Just final thoughts. Like I said, I am a Metroid fan now.
Yes.
I have been converted. I still like Other M, but like I said, Super Metroid set the bar so high for me now. I'm like, this game is amazing. I'm gonna remember it forever. I love it. And I'm so excited for more Metroid games. I'm so excited to go through Prime with you. I'm so excited for Fusion. I am so hyped for Dread. Like, Dread looks really cool. And again, like I said, the fact that I had that Metroid itch. I keep coming back to it, but I had it for so long, and nothing I could do could seem to scratch it. And then Super Metroid did it for me. And like, I think that stands as a testament to how good this game is. And even though if you're listening to this and you've listened to us spoil the entire game, play it anyway, because like I said, the joy was in the journey. The journey was so much fun.
Mm-hmm. This is, like I said, this is a case where both of us went into this game for our first time going through the game, and we already knew the ending, and we already knew most of the stuff, and we'd seen most of the monsters that, like, Smash Bros. Always shows us, the Ridleys and Kraids and whatever, and Mother Brain. Like, we already knew most of this stuff, but it's just such a good game that, like, it transcends the ability to get spoiled. Like, Undertale, that's a good game, but it can be spoiled for you, and it can mess with your experience. Any other, like, game out there, like, you can get stuff spoiled, and it can mess with the experience. Super Metroid is like, you can get it spoiled and still have a really good time with the game because it's just that good.
I wholeheartedly agree that, like, I think there's something to be said about a game that, like, we both went in knowing quite a good bit about it and still had, like, this amazing experience with it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's about all I have. I think I've said everything I can think to say.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good game. It's a really good game.
So yeah, I mean, I guess we had our little bit where we talked about the beginning, and they were like, wait, like, maybe if you hadn't had it spoiled, try it. But, like, at this point now, we're like, you've listened to the podcast.
Like as we had this conversation, like, I think it dawned on me just how good of a game this is. It's like, nah, like, even if it's spoiled, like, still play it.
And again, because it's not intensely story heavy, like, knowing, like, the plot beats as they happen is still, like, a 1/9 of the experience. Like,
yeah. Like I said, we cut a lot of our just goofing off and like wandering around and exploring, and like there's so many like little moments of just like, oh shoot, there's a missile upgrade right there. Yeah. Like, you know, just a neat little surprise.
So that is, we've done it. We've created another Metroid fan.
You did it. I've been infected with the Metroid.
You've been infected with the X-Parasite. Wait, we can't joke about that. That's a different game.
We can't joke about that because we haven't played that game yet.
Right. We'll get to it. But
we'll get to it.
That's the thing. The way this sort of book clubby thing is going is that first I pick a game, and then you pick a game, and we go back and forth that way. So now it's your turn.
I have a game for you, and I'm so excited for you to play it. I've been saying it for a long time. Are we gonna tell them what it is, or leave them in suspense?
We'll give them a hint, and then you can pause the video if you want to guess, and then we'll say it, so you can have your internet validation. Let's just say we won't pull the trigger on this podcast just yet, because it's about time.
It's gonna be a bit of time before we get to this next episode up.
You're gonna need to go back in time,
or forward,
or forward. Yeah. If you travel forward in time, you'll know the game we're talking about.
I love how you're like, let's give them a hint, see if they can guess, and then you just blatantly spoiled it. No. There are games. There are many games with time travel. How many of them have trigger in the title? Oh shoot! Yeah. So up next, we'll be tackling Chrono Trigger. Oh, I'm so excited! I've been saying it for a long time that I'm like, dude, you need to play this game. You need to play this game. And so, like, this is now my excuse to make you play this game.
And this is gonna be like the hard opposite of what we just experienced with Super Metroid, like arcadey, like quick, punchy, all of that. This is gonna be a grand RPG adventure with characters, locales, story, dialogue, all of that good stuff. And I'm ready. I've heard too many good things about Chrono Trigger. I'm just like, let me at him.
It's one of those games that, like, there's a lot of hype surrounding it, And so I was very going into it, like I wasn't sure, but it lived up to the hype for me, and so I really hope it does for you.
Mm-hmm.
But that will be the next time.
That'll be the next time. So, thank y'all for listening. We just talked on for who knows how long about Super Metroid because it's that good, and we could go 5 more hours about Super Metroid.
Honestly, we could.
Because it's that good. But nobody's got that time, not even us.
Nope.
And so we're gonna call it here. But thanks for listening. Let us know if anything about this podcast sucks, and we'll try and improve in the future. Except we really won't.
Nah.
But that's how you get the subscribers, I hear. I'll say this: the whole point of this is that we can show each other games that we like, and then because we're trying to get this out in a podcast format, that motivates us to get it quicker. But if there are games that you think it would be cool for us to try, you have no way of knowing what games we have or haven't played, but, like, if you just want to hear us talk about them, then, like, say, like, hey, this is a pretty good game, and then, you know, we'll get to it in 6 to 8 years. I don't even know what I'm trying to say here. It's like, we're definitely not going to be taking suggestions.
I don't know. Someone might suggest something, and then I'll be like, oh, I forgot about that. I want to play that.
I'll say this much. People in the comments, here's the audience engagement. If you made it to the end of the video, then that means you cared about what we had to say, and you'll care about what we have to say in the future. So, people in the comments, tell us, what are some of your favorite Super Nintendo games? And if we see any, like, recurring, like, oh, this one's pretty good, or that one's pretty good, then, like, we might check those out, because there's a lot of Super Nintendo games that we missed, and...
Yeah, we missed a lot.
And we've got a ton of them in the backlog, but, like... Or if you've never played a Super Nintendo game, then I don't know what to tell you, because we played a lot of the other games on the other consoles. But, yeah, if you've got a favorite Super Nintendo game, like, tell it in the comments, and then you'll either get a response saying, like, yeah, we've both played it and it's awesome, or you'll get a response saying, we've never tried that, maybe someday we will.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you get them. I'm pretty much guaranteed the likes.
Except I scared them all away by saying I liked other M at the beginning of the video.
Yep, and if anyone forgot about that, they just unliked the video. Because you can do that.
That is a thing.
It's just like, no, you know what? The thumbs down is better. Anyways, thanks guys for watching. We'll see you next time with Chrono Trigger. Have a good one.
See you next mission.
Oh, you wrapping it up. I swear the suit was pink, though.